What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock, what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to break down why tomorrow is going to be a massive day for NIO for the overall market because we have some very big catalysts coming out. I'm also going to break down some good news that came out for NIO and how this may affect the share price going forward. Now, before I break anything down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Weeble, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, whether it's $1 or $100, it's up to you. You're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is any could be a free Tesla share, a free Apple share, or a mix of all of them. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends tomorrow, so check it out before they run out. Tomorrow is your last chance before the offer ends. Now, talking about NIO, however, I want to talk about something else that's very important. Looking at NIO, all right, NIO's up about 4% for the day, looking pretty decent. However, I do want to note something very important. That's the fact that tomorrow we have a very, very big catalyst ahead of us. We're going to see Jerome Powell speaking, and what he says is going to really affect NIO. Now, the reason why NIO popped while the overall market was essentially green is because NIO announced a very big deal, a very big partnership. We're seeing right over here that Tencent and NIO are going to be working together in a partnership to develop self-driving cars. This is going to be incredible news, in my opinion, because the first thing you have to remember is the fact that right now, the full self-driving technology is still being developed for lots of these companies. And full self-driving cars, in my opinion, is just a growing business that's going to be worth trillions, according to Kathy Wood and many big investors out there. So seeing NIO partnering with big companies is just incredible. It really shows how well they're doing and how much they will grow going forward. On top of that, when it comes to some new data, I forgot to mention this yesterday, but we can see right here, NIO Sedan won an award as the technological front runner of the year. Once again, this was at the prestigious Danish Auto Awards show. So very, very impressive by NIO. They're doing very well. I'm very proud of them. They are just doing an absolutely incredible job, and I can't wait for what the future holds going forward. Now, the thing about this is, yes, I'm very bullish long term, guys, but for the short term, these very, very short term catalysts will affect NIO. And I want to actually break down why tomorrow is going to be a very big day. So, for tomorrow, guys, I wanted to note something. Firstly, the market has some context we need to go over. Right now, Apple is starting to take a big hit because of the fact that there's big changes in China going on with the lockdowns, there are protests, and so on and so forth. And we are seeing some production issues going on for Apple. These production issues, in essence, are actually slowing down their output, which in turn is affecting the share price. And that's why the market started to tank the way it did. It's also kind of trading sideways because of Jerome Powell. He's going to be speaking tomorrow. And we know when the market's uncertain, when the market's indecisive, it tends to actually range trade in a very, very concrete matter. So, looking at Jerome Powell himself, he's going to be talking tomorrow. And at what time and how may this affect the market? I'm going to answer that in just a second. So, just note that we have a very interesting week ahead of us. We actually have PCE coming out on Thursday, the day after. And on Wednesday, which is tomorrow, we have Jerome Powell speaking at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. All right. So what I think the market's going to do, and this includes NIO, right? They're going to continue to sell off a bit, maybe trade kind of sideways. It's going to be very boring. All right. Then when this guy comes, the market's going to tank initially. As he starts opening his mouth, the market starts tanking. Then the market's going to start making very volatile swings. He's going to say one thing, the market pushes up. Then another thing, the market starts dropping. It's going to be crazy. All right. This always happens when he speaks. But the real question is not just about what's going to happen when he speaks, but what he says and how will this affect the market going forward. And that's something I have to actually see to really answer because I don't truly know. All right, I don't really know exactly what he's going to say. What I can say about the markets and what's going on is Powell has a tendency of being hawkish when he wants the market to come down. Remember during Jackson Hole, he was speaking, the whole market tanked. There were also instances where he actually caused the markets to pump. If he says things about inflation, maybe potentially cooling off, the Fed starting to pivot sometime in 2023, the outlook looking a lot better. You know, if he speaks like that, the market is likely going to see some bullish price action afterwards. We can see a rally continue. But if he says something significant like oh, we're going to continue to increase rates. There's no indication that inflation is done. It's going to start coming down. There's no indication of what is going to happen. There are lots of tensions. The Fed is going to be very careful. Inflation is still hot. If you start saying things like that, and the fact that the Fed is going to be ready to be aggressive just in case, the market could actually take a big hit. All right, I want to make that as clear as possible. Now, for the past week, guys, the majority of Fed speakers have been pretty hawkish. They've been saying things that cause the market to trade sideways and come down because the Fed does not like the market pumping. So that's why I believe there's a 60% chance if Powell says something significant, it's going to cause the market to start dropping over the next few days, right? It's not going to be the best of news for the bulls out there. But on the other hand, there's still a 40% chance that we are bullish and the market starts pumping, which will help NIO. Also notes that on Wednesday, Powell is speaking. On Thursday, we have PCE, which is kind of like the CPI from the Fed's end that's coming out. Going to be very important. CPI is also coming out on December 13th, I believe. So very big dates ahead of us. What does all this data mean for NIO? It's very simple, guys. If Powell causes the market to pump, in other words, if the market interprets Powell's words as things to pump off of, there's a chance SPY could rally. And so would the QQQs. If SPY does rally, starts pushing up, I'm going to be watching this 402, 401 level for the gap fill. And we might slowly start pushing up and up and up to this key resistance level from the descending broadening wedge I've been talking about for the past few months. You guys can see it quite clearly right over here, right? And what's interesting about it is we are going to likely hit resistance at 407 if the market pumps that much because of Powell. It's very possible. Okay. And then after that, we could see the market slow down going into CPI. We'll have to see after that. But that's a more bullish possibility. That would cause markets and NIO to start pumping. But if Powell comes out and he's very hawkish, he says something the market does not like, SPY is likely going to retest 390. Fail to hold that, we're going to make a new low from the past couple of weeks. This thing's going to come all the way down to the 380s and maybe bounce off 385. If we fail at 385, this thing is going to come tanking down to 380 pretty fast. It's going to be a big drop for the markets. If that's the case, QQQ is likely going to be correlated. So will Tesla. So will NIO because of this. So on NIO, this is what I'm essentially watching. If NIO is set to basically pump to the upside, NIO, in my opinion, if the market does pump and NIO makes a big move, NIO has the potential to start pushing and pushing and pushing and hitting about $11.50 around this zone right here. Big pump to this key resistance zone. I do believe NIO can actually do that if things do pump that hard because of Powell. It is very possible. However, if Powell causes the market to take a huge hit, okay, if the market comes down hard, on NIO, I'm going to be watching this gap area, this like $10 zone. NIO is likely going to retest $10 flat. And if the market keeps dropping going into like the start of December, NIO is likely going to start retesting the nines and maybe retest $9 flat if the market does crash. So be very careful here, guys. We're at a very key zone. The market's very indecisive. I personally cannot give you financial advice, but I actually am not holding any options overnight. I'm going to just maybe scalp here and there and not necessarily make any too big moves or maybe not like hold anything for too far out through Powell's speech because I'm going to be very cautious. I may even like hedge and play for fun, but like I said before, I'm going to be very, very careful. I do expect Powell to say something very big that will move the market and this will affect NIO, and I want everyone to be very careful. We don't truly know which direction the market will go in as a result of what he says. That's why you have to be very careful when he starts speaking, and this will affect NIO. Anyways, just to remind you one last time, tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. he speaks. The big guy is going to be speaking. It's going to really affect markets. Get ready, guys. It will affect NIO. The last thing I want to say about NIO is December is approaching. And when December approaches, NIO gives their monthly deliveries reports. Now, I want to see how NIO does for this because remember, the CEO, William Lee Bin, also mentioned that NIO is going to be really ramping up production and deliveries, and we should expect 43 to 48,000, which means that NIO should have well over 15,000 deliveries for November to meet that goal. If NIO achieves that, this stock price could actually come flying up starting for December 1st or so. and we may even see NIO make a big move from here. It still is very possible, but I don't really like to make those claims because we have to see the report first. If NIO comes short, this thing can also start coming down, so we have to be very careful. Anyways, that's what I essentially have for this video. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day. Get ready for tomorrow. It's a big day, and peace out.